we're all responding to a situation both at the national and the state level, and even the local community level, that is changing day by day and hour by hour. One of the great things about this, though, is that we're all in this together. And we here at the New Jersey Historical Commission want to make sure that you know that we continue to be your partners in support of New Jersey history. And so this virtual town hall is an opportunity for us to directly update you and communicate about important issues that we're all facing. So we're going to proceed through this PowerPoint, and we're going to highlight for you some of the different areas in our collective work, which we think we wanted to make sure you had updated information about. So Greer, why don't we go ahead and we'll proceed with the PowerPoint, and we will circle back to Secretary Way when she can join us.
That sounds great. Can I make one note? If you are sharing your screen currently, you are able to share your webcam. If you don't mind just not sharing your webcam, just so everybody on the call has a full view of the PowerPoint. Thank you.
Great, and I am thrilled and delighted to see so many of you joining us this morning. This is terrific. So hi Ken and hi Annie.
Good morning, Sarah.
Yeah, if you want, just as Greer suggested, you could turn off your webcam, and then the full screen will show for everybody. Great, that's terrific.
And Sarah, I believe Secretary Way has joined us, so I'm going to transition to the next slide.
Excellent. So it is my great pleasure to introduce our wonderful Secretary of State, Tahisha Way. When she learned, excuse me, when she learned that we were going to hold this virtual town hall, I know that she really wanted to join us and offer her welcome and greetings to you. And that's a huge commitment on her part, because I just want to remind you that not only is she responsible for the commission and our partners at the Arts Council, but she's also leads other critical areas of our state government, most particularly our elections and our census efforts. So Secretary Way, we're just thrilled that you could join us, and we'd love to hear your thoughts this morning.
Sorry, everyone. We're trying to figure out how to unmute Secretary Way here.
Hello? Greg, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I apologize about this, being new to all of the creative and virtual meetings. So I am on, and a good morning to everyone. And I am just truly hoping, let me start off by saying that everyone is staying safe and doing well wherever you may be working from right now. I also want to say that I wish we weren't meeting this way, but I'm glad to be able to speak with you this morning during this unprecedented situation. Know that myself, along with Governor Murphy and this administration, understand the importance of this historical community and the role that you play in education, civic engagement, and economic development, particularly as it relates to heritage tourism. We are so committed to responding to your needs throughout this crisis and beyond. And I also want to thank Sarah Curitan and her team for their extraordinary leadership, working hard to respond to the concerns of New Jersey's historical organizations and initiatives through a variety of creative strategies, including this morning's town hall. Please also be on the lookout for their survey, which will help us gather data on how you and your organizations have been impacted by COVID-19. Now, we do understand that you are still looking ahead and thinking about the future, but rest assured, the Historical Commission will continue to administer the grants program remotely. Furthermore, important initiatives like NJ Women Vote and planning for the semi-quin continue to move forward as we adapt where necessary to the changing circumstances related to the coronavirus. Before I turn things over to Sarah, another thanks for your service to New Jersey before, during, and of course after this crisis. We will get through this together, and someday children will learn about this history and be proud of how our state and our people have responded. So welcome again, and thank you all. Please be safe and well. Back to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Secretary Way. We are just so grateful that you could join us this morning. And now we'll proceed with some of our other updates and information sharing. So what we're going to take you through this morning is to provide you first with an update on what our programs are doing in the crisis and where we are with them. And then we're going to share with you a number of different resources that are available to you, as well as some ideas that we've gathered from other history organizations. And then finally, as I mentioned at the outset, we are going to have a generous amount of time, we hope, at the end to really respond to your questions. So with that having been said, we will move to our next slide. And I'm just going to remind you, if your webcam is on, and I just see one on, and I think it's Annie's, so hi Annie again. If you can, Annie, turn off that webcam, then we'll just get a full screen for everybody on the PowerPoint. So moving forward, we're going to give you some updates, as I mentioned, and the first one is from our grants program. And so I am so grateful that I am not alone here on this on this virtual town hall this morning, but we have the whole team in place. I think just with the exception of Jan Field, who did have to attend an appointment this morning. But I'm going to turn it over now to Sean Crisafulli to update us on the grant program. Sean?
Hi, Sarah, and good morning, everybody. As the Chief Grants Officer for the Commission, I just wanted to stress basically what Secretary Way had noted in her introduction, that the grant programs, the General Operating Support Project grants, County History Partnership Program, all of our grant programs are moving forward and being administered as normal. And I cannot stress enough that I am here, and I know I have, in the course of the past week, I have been in touch with many of you regarding questions either about your general operating support grants or your project grant application that is due later in April. I am here. My contact information is on our website along with the rest of the staff, but I just wanted to stress that the current grant program for that we're in right now, fiscal year 2020, everything is moving forward as normal. I'm in Sage every single day. I'm approving reports. I'm doing everything I need to do, reaching out to grantees. So it's important just for me to give you all that peace of mind. In terms of the grant program right now, everything is going according to normal. And please do not hesitate to reach out to me with any questions or concerns whatsoever. I am here all day as if it was a normal time for all of us. So I just wanted to stress that, and thank you so much.
Yes, Sean is available all day except when his wonderful 2-year-old daughter needs a visit with Daddy, which yes. We all understand. yes.
But that is very unpredictable. But needless to say, I am here, and please, cannot stress enough. I've already reached out to so many of you. in the past week since we've been working remotely. And just do not hesitate to reach out with any questions or concerns whatsoever. If you're an existing GOS grantee, most of your interim reporting has been completed. In terms of the project grant round, the DOIs have already been submitted, and there's an application deadline coming up on April 20th that is moving forward as normal. So as I said, any questions or concerns whatsoever, please feel free to reach out to me.
Great, thank you, Sean. Now, next I'd like to ask Greer Luce. She's already, you've already heard her voice, and I should have introduced her more fully earlier, but Greer, as many of you know, if not all of you, has been the point person with our NJ Women Vote activities. So Greer, please give us an update on where we stand with planning for NJ Women Vote.
Sure, I'd be happy to. And I apologize in advance if my neighbor's small yappy dogs interrupt me in the course of this update. I'm sure we're all experiencing similar challenges working from home and telecommuting. So just a couple updates related to NJ Women Vote, our 19th Amendment Centennial Initiative. First of all, we have decided in light of the health crisis to postpone our suffrage slow roll, which was a bicycle ride that was going to take place on May 16th at historic Smithville Park in Burlington County. We have been able to reschedule the event to July 25th, 2020. So stay tuned for more information about that event. It will not come as a surprise that moving forward, all of our meetings will be held virtually or via conference call moving forward. And then finally, I wanted to mention that we just put out a suffrage resources survey. So our initiative is trying to collect data on publicly accessible collections. This includes objects, documents, books, throughout the state related to women's suffrage in New Jersey. So we'll continue promoting that survey and putting it out far and wide over the next couple of months.
Hello.
And that's it for me. And just a reminder, if you are on the phone, please mute yourself if possible.
Okay, sorry about that. Am I off now? Thank you for calling. Stop shit.
Sorry about that, I was muted. Now we can move on to our next slide, which talks about some of the ongoing programs. So I'm going to call on a couple of other staff members to join us now. And the first of those is going to be Madeline Rosenberg, who will give us an update on the annual conference and our semi-quincentennial planning.
Thank you, Sarah. So hopefully everybody can hear me, but please let me know if you cannot. So I'm just going to go over some updates briefly on the slide on various programs. So in terms of the annual conference, at this moment, we are still planning to hold it in November as planned. Obviously, if things change over the coming months, we will be monitoring the situation, but we are proceeding as normal. With the hope of releasing a call for proposals and starting to spread the word more widely towards the end of April. The only change that we are anticipating at this time is likely that we are going to be holding our committee meetings virtually. In terms of the semi-quincentennial and our plans for the 250th anniversary coming up in 2026, as of now, we are in the process of postponing meetings that really would only benefit from being held in person, such as our listening sessions, or conducting them virtually until further notice. So the next meeting that may be on your radar that we anticipate conducting virtually is the April 21st update meeting. We are still in the process of determining exactly what we hope to do with that meeting, but we will be circulating information about it as soon as our plans are finalized. The site assessment update. Many of you are probably aware that we are in the process of finalizing a site and visitor readiness survey of about 150 Revolutionary War related sites in New Jersey. You may have seen that the public meeting for that report had to be postponed due to the COVID-19 virus, and we are actively working on figuring out the best way to share that information in a timely and appropriate manner. You may also recall that we had a social studies survey underway in our K through 12 classrooms in New Jersey to gain a sense of what is being taught, when, how, what the barriers to resources and success are. That is unchanged. That was being conducted digitally, and we anticipate staying on schedule for that survey as of now. So we're pleased to report that nothing has changed in that area. And other than that, we have a lot of other things going on in terms of trying to assemble an advisory and governance structure to help guide the initiative, working on the creation of interpretive themes. And while all of those efforts and others will likely be impacted in some way by the current public health situation, please rest assured that we are charging forward and doing everything we can to keep this important initiative going at this time. And then I will just quickly speak about awards and prizes. There are no changes planned for the deadlines for the 2020 awards and prizes. So as a reminder, it's April 30th for the McCormick Prize for a scholarly book. And for all of the other awards and prizes, the deadline is July 1st. And those nominees for those can be submitted digitally. So we don't anticipate changes at this time.
Thank you, Madeline. That's great. So as has already been noted by some other staff members, we are available every weekday 9 to 5. Our office phones have actually been forwarded to our personal phones, so you can still use those numbers. And of course, you can reach us through email too. Now, I'd like to ask Nicole Premiani to join us, because she is heading up this survey that we've been talking about. And I'd like Nicole to come online and just give you some more detail about what the survey is, its purpose, and why it's terribly important that you respond to it. So, Nicole?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Sarah. So yes, so we've been having a lot of conversations in our office and with other colleagues about everything that's happening and sort of trying to figure out how we can best serve everyone. So we're certainly hearing a lot about the impact of the virus on the for-profit sector, and we fear that it's going to have an even greater negative impact on our cultural nonprofits. So we need to hear from you because we need to know how we can help you. So we've created a survey based on an Americans for the Arts model. It's going to ask questions about changes you've made to your organization because of the virus. Your responses will inform the development of our work over the next several months. If you're a county agency, and I see a few of you on the call, so that's great, or on the webinar, so that's great, we'll ask you guys to take the survey if you offer programming and to share it with your regrantees. If you don't offer programming, then we just ask you to share it with your regrantees. So yeah, like I said, it's going to inform the development of our work over the next several months. It's very important that we hear from you. We want to continue having conversations with you as well. Several months down the road, we've decided that we're going to circulate another survey so we can see where you are. So after the webinar, you're going to receive an email from Greer, and it's going to include a lot of information. It'll have the survey link, and it'll have our contact information. And as Sean said, we're all on our website as well. If you have any questions, you can reach out to any of us. So that's all I have. Thank you, everybody, and take care.
Thanks, Nicole. So I just want to emphasize a couple more points about the survey. Some of you may remember that following Superstorm Sandy, we conducted an outreach to our constituents as well, gathering information about the impact of in that case, a massive storm. So we use this information in more than one way. as Nicole indicated, it's going to help us understand how we can use our resources to support you better. But we also want to have this data so we can share it with others to demonstrate the impact of this pandemic on our constituents. So it is really critical that I know everybody gets so many surveys and it takes time away from other activities, I know, but if you can take the time to respond and to encourage others to respond, it is going to give us a very powerful tool to use in the coming months to better serve you. So all of that having been said, we did gather for you today a number of resources, and we're going to now kind of get into that. I wanted to talk about a couple of these at the top here, and these come under the category of ideas to share. First of all, there are a number of institutions out there, and maybe some of you are familiar with them already, that do virtual tours of their sites. And again, this all comes in the category of initiatives that you can either create or promote to continue to serve your communities and to continue to remind them that even though your doors are closed, you are still there and still providing that service. So you might take a look at down in Cape May, I believe MAC has created a virtual tour. I believe, and Jody's on the line here, I believe this was a new initiative that you undertook in response to the virus. So you might take a look at that if you're not doing a virtual tour already to get an idea of what they've been able to do. Another innovative strategy that MAC has implemented is to encourage folks to buy tickets now to climb their lighthouse. The lighthouse, I believe, is not open, but their strategy there is to say, hey, you can support us now by buying a ticket that you can use later. So another idea that we wanted to share with you. And now, Madeline, I think I'm going to call upon you once again because you have gathered some other ideas here just to quickly review.
Sure, thank you, Sarah. So I won't go one by one because I want to leave as much time as possible for questions and comments, but a few of us just scoured the internet for a few ideas of responsive programming that different organizations of different sizes have put together in the last few weeks and days in light of the current situation. So you can see the New York Historical Society has launched a virtual version of their book club, Read into History. And I do encourage everyone when we send the deck around, these are live links when you have the PowerPoint, so you'll be able to click on them and learn more. The National Humanities Alliance is aggregating information on the stimulus funding as it may affect the cultural sector and the humanities industry, so that may be of interest to you. The Tenement Museum has been emphasizing education while its doors are shuttered and putting together remote learning resources and practices for teachers. The Museum of Food and Drink, which some of you may have heard of, it's a relatively new museum that sadly was just about to launch a major new exhibition and obviously could not, has put up a video series, and it also is aggregating resources for supporting the food and drink and restaurant industry. And the Heinz History Center has also launched digital resources called History at Home. So those are just a few different ways, whether it's highlighting options that you already have available digitally, taking things that maybe are not on the internet but you have in a digital format and uploading it for your constituents, encouraging some sort of collective behavior that doesn't require digital resources, but like reading a book together or having online chats. I think hopefully there are a lot of options to have a educational and creative and mission-driven response in this difficult time. So thank you.
Thanks, Madeline. Now, we put together a list here of additional resources that you may want to dip into. And this, I believe, we're going to email this to you along with this survey and other materials after this town hall. And one thing I do want to highlight, if you have not seen it already, is the stimulus package does include additional funding for the NEH and for IMLS. Obviously, there's not a lot of detail out yet about how that money is going to be distributed. And there are also in the small business loan package, nonprofits, I believe, are going to be eligible for those loans. So we, encourage you right off the bat to investigate those opportunities as that legislation rolls out and the details become more available. And we'll do our best to pass along that information as we get it. And we will, as you'll see here, this list that we're going to post for you and share with you, we will continue to update it with other resources as they become available. Now, Greer, I'm going to just turn to you quickly and say, were there any other items about this list which Greer compiled for you that you wanted to make sure everyone knows?
Sure. So I can talk a little bit about kind of the idea behind the list. We split it up into different sections. So there's general resources for planning and closure, linking to, organizations like the American Alliance of Museum, the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and organizations like that have put together kind of big, really comprehensive lists of resources. We also wanted to provide resources for communications and online engagement. So as you're starting to think about ways, if you're not doing so already, which I know many of you already have great online resources, but just ways you can create online resources and put those out to the world, social media strategies and things like that. And then on the second page, which isn't in the screenshot here, we ended the resource list with a section called Find Support, with some ideas for sharing data that, like our survey, will hopefully help provide a backing for future advocacy and funding development efforts. And also ways you can connect with different practitioners in the field to share ideas and, to have somebody to talk to, through this crisis, other folks who work for museums and historic organizations that are going through similar things.
Great. Thank you so much, Greer. Now it's your turn. So we would love now to hear from you and hear your questions or concerns, or perhaps you've got another suggestion for a resource that you'd like to share with everyone. So please use that chat box, and we are eager to hear your questions. One of the questions we have, just to start you off, is we'd love to know if you have found this webinar to be useful, and if you would like us to continue to offer these periodically through this crisis. So feel free to use that chat box to vote on that, or let us know if you found it to be useful. And I want to thank Nicole, who has put up the link there to the survey. We will also be posting that and sending that out. I see some yeses. Yeah, yay! That is good to hear. Greer has been monitoring our question box too. Greer, were there some questions that already came in that I have not seen here?
I'm still going through here, but I saw one more question about the recording. We are recording, and we'll send the recording out following the conclusion of this meeting.
Good.
And it looks like an astounding yes, we should have more webinars.
Good. Good. So we will then continue to schedule these periodically to bring everyone together. And in the meantime, feel free, if ideas occur to you of topics or information that you're searching for that you think we could address in these town meetings, please let us know. Okay, I see a question from Cynthia. Hi, Cynthia. Yes, we are, and Cynthia has asked if you're not keeping up with the chat box there, if we're going to be changing the time periods for our grants in terms of, I believe what she's referring to is release of funding. And Cynthia, we are in the process of looking at that issue. Rest assured that we are following up on what the Arts Council is doing, and I cannot give you a definitive answer this morning as to what the determination will be on that, but we are working on that to see if we will be able to accelerate the release of funds, particularly for GOS recipients, because we know that you rely on that for operating funds.
And Sarah, it looks like there's another question on that note. Oh, and Sean already responded to it. So is the project grant due April 20th instead of the 6th? And yes, it is April 20th. And then we also have a comment from Allison Pearson. Just reading it. Looks like she provided a great resource. She attended a webinar and she included the link in the chat there for everybody. Thank you so much.
Great. And I'm delighted to see that Maxine Lurie is here. She's our chair. And yes, please, I would echo her suggestion that if any of you sites have found some successful strategies to use to respond to the coronavirus crisis, please share them with us, and we'd be delighted to add those to a town hall or to our list of resources.
We also have a question. Any thoughts on how we preserve the history of the historic pandemic?
Do you mind if I chime in here, Sarah?
I hope you will. Go right ahead.
Sorry to cut you off, but if you'd like to go first.
No, please chime right in.
So this is Madeline, the Commission's Chief Public Historian, and I'm really pleased to see this question. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot, and I've been speaking with other colleagues in the museum and public history field, and know that rapid response collecting is something that's on a lot of people's minds. However, this is a tricky one, right? Because touch and spread are concerns, and so some of the principles of rapid response collecting that would be appropriate in other crises may not apply here. So for now, I can share what I've been hearing from other colleagues, that many of them are taking photographs of signs, taking screenshots of digital examples of responses, downloading web pages and websites. I would think about, while still following the guidance that we're receiving from the government and public health officials, what are safe ways, if you're interested in preserving things that might be useful for future interpretation. So I'll give one example that the other day I was grocery shopping and bought a bottle of hand sanitizer from a distillery, which is only something that exists because of this crisis. It's possible as a public history nerd that I will keep that bottle longer than I would another household item because of its historical significance, and I would aim to keep it in a safe way. So those are just some ideas, and I see that Nicole, who's also a fellow public historian, is posting some resources in the chat box about rapid response.
Great, and it looks like thank you so much, Madeline. It looks like our next question moving down the line here, any news or updates on the proposed NJ bill to force insurance companies to pay for business losses?
Hi, Jody. I see that question. I don't have any updates on that, but that is something we can try to get information on for the next gathering to share with you for sure. I also wanted to add, in response to the question about documenting responses, our efforts here with the virtual town hall, but also with our survey, are part of our efforts to document the history of this. So that is certainly something that we're mindful of. I also want to note that those of you who were in New Jersey historical organizations during Sandy, once again, a number of you both did active collecting during and after Sandy, and then also mounted exhibitions and programs. So, you know, by all means, dust off your thoughts about what was done back then to see if some of those kinds of initiatives are things that you can undertake now as well.
Great. It looks like our next question, is there any indication that funding will be cut for the program grant?
That is an excellent question. And this is one of those questions that we think about and worry about every day through this crisis. And no, we do not have any updated information on that. Obviously, the world has changed since the governor released his budget for 2021. So I think it's a time when we all need to be very vigilant and attentive to you know, what happens as the 2021 budget now is developed. But we don't have any updated information on that at this time.
Great, and going down the line, I'm just reiterating, Nicole Bellalin was kind enough to post a link in the chat there for an online database collecting during COVID-19.
Excellent. All right.
I have a comment from Kate Singer regarding preserving this history. I guess she works with Rutgers and Newark Public Schools and creating curriculum to kind of preserve the history of the outbreak. We have a recommendation for a different chat or virtual meeting alternative. It looks like Seton Hall libraries are working on a yet-to-be-published personal narrative project on COVID-19. That's really cool. Nancy POR, if any museums have gloves or masks, please donate them to your local first responders. That's a great point. And Nicole has provided some more resources about rapid response. Bayshore Center has shared that they've had success creating 2 to 5 minute videos on Facebook. Topics have included highlights from the collection, presentations on education stations, not tying how things work on the A.J. Mearwald. Our entire staff was laid off and the sailing season was canceled, but we keep going. I think that's really great example of how to kind of continue, and we're all thinking of you at Bayshore. Isha has suggested handmade masks. The Public Historian, which is NCPH's journal, is free through June. That's another great link provided in the chat. Okay, so we have another question here. Would like further discussion of what Historical Commission resources are available for school kids, parents, caregivers who are staying at home and eager for additional resources. I can answer that, and if anyone on staff wants to jump in, the Historical Commission offers educational resources on our website. One of the great resources that we have is a video series called It Happened Here, New Jersey. And those are very short videos on an array of New Jersey history topics. And accompanying each video is a curriculum guide, including activities and questions to kind of steer discussion based on the videos. We also have a number of other resources on that website. And I'll pivot to put on my 19th Amendment Centennial Initiative cap. We also offer resources on our Discover NJ History website that are focused on the suffrage centennial. And that includes over 70 biographies of New Jersey suffragists, as well as a public programs toolkit that also includes activities that can be done from home, ranging from film screenings and discussions to crafts and things of that nature. Sarah, did you want to add anything?
No, I thought you were very comprehensive there, Greer. So especially, and we can, Greer, we can try to promote those more too through social media, just to remind people that those are there. I will just add a plug. There are some other institutions in our state who are doing programming around the 19th Amendment that's available digitally. I know the Old Barracks Museum recently opened a digital exhibition related to the 19th Amendment. So by all means, check that out. And some of you may be doing that too. Again, share those with us so we can help promote them and get the word out.
Great. So our next question, is anyone else interested in collecting local information on the 1918 epidemic to compare and contrast with the COVID-19 pandemic? And it looks like a couple people have responded. Jane from the Montclair History Center, there's a blog post about the 1918 pandemic.
I saw that, Jane. It's great.
But does anyone else, and I'm going down the list here to see if anyone else replied, but Sarah, did you have any thoughts on that or anyone else?
I do know, I will say this, Bev, I know that a number of institutions did some very interesting programming during our World War I centennial period, and some of it focused particularly on the influenza pandemic. In particular, what jumps to mind is Ocean County, and Nick Wood, who now works for the State Park Service, but I know that when he was down Ocean County, he compiled a great deal of information about what happened in New Jersey in response to the influenza pandemic. In fact, he gave a paper on that at our conference that year. So there's some really good information out there that you can tap into, Bev, to use as comparison to what's happening today. And I see that, by the way, Eileen Lynch, because Hoboken, of course, also did a lot of programming around World War I. So Eileen is interested in connecting with you too, Bev, on that, I see.
Wonderful. Nicole Bellowin has included some Corona syllabi that's available online, and a link in the chat and some other examples. Nancy says the Historical Society of Plainfield has created an at-home page, which I think a lot of organizations have done, and it's great to put online resources out there for those who are learning from home. And then we have another question here from Cynthia Forster. Have I missed any changes in guidelines for groups getting project grants from us that cannot now be completed? Arts has allowed for virtual programs, as well as those that fill the main ideas of the applications, allowing the counties to make changes without taking it to the council. Can we do the same thing? Our preservationist is leading this, but wanted to give her that info. So I think that's a question for Nicole and Sarah about the county grant program.
Yes, so Nicole and I can certainly respond, Cynthia. We have not talked about this particular question yet, Cynthia, but I think we'll get right on that. Nicole, do you have any further thoughts on that?
I mean, absolutely. We haven't really talked about it yet. I think we need to start hearing from people. So maybe through the survey, and counties can contact me directly with any questions. I think we need to start hearing from everybody about their questions and what might be easier for them and easier for groups, so that we can have a conversation about it and decide if we are going to change anything.
Right, so it's very helpful to hear that from you, Cynthia, that's a concern, right, Nicole?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this kind of communication with everyone out in the field is very helpful. I mean, we really do use it to develop our work.
Wonderful. Next, we have some more information about what ALARE is doing. They are having an activity video and uploading time that is age appropriate, and as well as age appropriate crafts and coloring sheets. And they're working on getting their building tours up as well virtually. They've posted quilting and a handwriting lesson, and working on a merit badge project for their scout friends. So again, other wonderful examples that everybody is including in here of ways that they're, still able to meet their mission while being at home. Another question here: are you aware of any resources that will help train people in how to operate new online platforms to provide programming and information? So there are a few resources in the resource list that we compiled that are geared towards helping folks learn how to use online platforms to start shifting programming and information to the web. And I've noticed, as the weeks go on, that those resources are increasing. So we will certainly make it a point to continue adding resources in that regard to our list as time goes on. Cynthia Forrester added that they have information on Camp Merit that they would be able to make available and public signage at the site. And Eileen, as you mentioned earlier, Sarah, the Hoboken Historical Museum is interested in participating in the 1918 comparison. Nicole's posted another great resource about health history. And then Karen has asked again, in addition to the training, which we just discussed, is there any help in terms of purchasing those platforms? That's a great question. And I haven't seen much in the way of assistance in purchasing the platforms. I know some platforms are offering free or discounted resources at this time. Does anyone else have an answer to that question?
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Okay. I'll put something here for you, all right? You have a minute?
Oh.
Okay, well, we'll continue looking for, and again, including on our resource list, any assistance that there might be in purchasing online platforms or discounts related to that. Lauren from the Old Barracks has posted a link to the online exhibit that Sarah mentioned. That's great. Nancy from the Plainfield Historical Society has mentioned another 1918 pandemic-related resource and some information in the chat there. Allison Pearson has shared that they're hearing from teachers that online resources are really useful. So insight from teachers and parents about the ways they would like to use resources and other formats would be great. Some formats are not available to school students. YouTube Live was one that was recommended. I think that's a great point, hearing from teachers and students about what works for them and what we can provide in terms of online resources.
And I just might break in, Greer, to say that our survey is asking for information on that. That's one of the things included in the school survey.
Great. We have a question. Can I resend the links to the resources list and programming survey? Absolutely. We will send those out in an email following the meeting today. And they will also be available at our website, which is history.nj.gov. And we would be so grateful if you could help distribute those to your networks. Nicole has made the point, as you start to move more content online, be sure to make it as accessible as possible for people with disabilities. Caption videos and or provide transcripts, provide alt text, use large typefaces, etc. And she says she can provide more resources. I think that's a great point. Accessibility as it is anywhere, is a large issue online. So keeping that in mind and thinking about providing those resources to make things accessible. Jamie has suggested for an online platform going to TechSoup. They have a lot of nonprofit resource and focus on tech opportunities for nonprofits. Great. And that is the end of our questions and comments.
So I just want to close by saying, first of all, thanks to the commission staff. I hope you now know we're all here, and hopefully even more accessible in some ways than we would be if we were working out of the office, because we're all at home, right? But I also want to thank all of you for joining. It has certainly been a great joy to me to see all of you join online and participate this morning. And we truly look forward to continuing this virtual contact with you as we all work together to get through this historic pandemic. So thank you all. We will capture any of these resources that you all are sharing as well, and we will, as we said, make the recorded version of this webinar available as well. So thank you very much. We look forward to speaking to you all again.
Thank you, everyone.